Yo, this is P-Town's finest, representing the NEP, D. Stoudemire, and y'all know what we talking about. No one's ready to deal with us.
This is Evan Turner, your Portland Trailblazers, and you're listening to the Rip City Report with Casey Holdahl and Joe Freeman.
Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to another edition of the Rip City Report. I am Joe Freeman of the Oregonian. He is Casey Holdahl of Trailblazers.com.
Greetings, Joe. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Casey. How about yourself?
I'm all right.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm a little tired.
You got in late last night.
Late arrival last night at Portland International.
At least there was no snow.
There was no snow. There actually is still snow that they obviously cleared the runways. Mm-hmm. It's still in piles.
Piled up,
and,
yeah.
I mean, it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. But that was one of the first things I noticed after we landed. I was like, oh, there's still a good chunk of snow over there. And how long ago was that now? 3 weeks?
Yeah, weeks.
That snow's tough, man. Or that ice, I guess, at this point.
Well, and it stacks up so high that it can't. And it's still been cold. Like, it's still been in the 30s.
And that too. Yeah, and the river looks like the Mississippi out there right now. It is muddy and high and slow. Yeah, we're taking on a slight bit of water in the basement in our.
Oh no!
In the I mean, not pooling water, but there is one spot where it's starting to seep a little bit. Our gutters are kind of trash, or not kind of trash. Our gutters are trash, and so I think that's causing some issues there. So if you know a good roof and gutter guy. Hit up your boy.
Holdahl.
Yeah, leave it in the iTunes comments.
There you go.
Give me your Better Business Bureau rundown of your local roofing or gutter business. Which, by the way, quick story. I did have someone came to the house the other day, knocked on the door, and was doing free estimates for roof repair.
Naturally,
and we need to get a new roof this year. So I was like, okay, great. And typically, I summarily just kick those people out. Like, I don't even typically answer my door, but this, I don't know for whatever reason why I was like, I'm going to do it this time. So we go through and set up the whole meeting, which they're going to come out the next day or 2 days from now or from then and do the appraisal. And so the guy leaves. I get a call like 45 minutes later from the guy's boss. He's like, hey, it's great. I see you set up an appointment, but your wife needs to be there. I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, both of you need to be there if we're going to give you an estimate. I was like, well, why? He's like, well, we typically don't like to just deal with one person who lives in the house. We like them both. And it was like I was getting the kind of the reverse patriarchy thing where it's like, oh, you need to have your wife here to. And I was going to tell him, I was like, we just did an expensive bathroom remodel wherein my wife did all of the interfacing. Like, I did nothing basically. Yeah. So it's like, look, man, we're adults.
If you don't want to deal with just one or either of us, then you don't want to deal with us.
And that was the thing. He's like, well, hey, can we come out on a weekend? I was like, no, there's no chance that's happening. And I was like, so
good luck.
I was like, so cool.
Have fun.
It was like it was basically a surefire sale. Like, we were getting our roof done this summer.
Wow.
Period.
Now, was that a deal? So he was like, okay, then never mind, and that was it.
No, I just hung up the phone at that point.
Oh,
so
okay.
I didn't wait for his response.
Yeah. Huh.
He's like, can we come on the weekend?
Weirdo.
I was like, no chance.
Huh.
No. So
everybody's still talking about the Super Bowl.
Yeah. This is a good podcast so far.
Yeah.
Actually, I would disagree. I feel like the Super Bowl talk dropped off like that. It was like, wow, the Patriots had that comeback. Everyone hates the Patriots now for whatever reason. And then they just kind of let it go.
Well, I think there was numerous reasons why people were sort of rooting against the Patriots, both
I
political
guess.
and non-political, but also like they're sort of easy to dislike unless you're like a diehard fan or from the area. Like, Bill Belichick's kind of an a-hole.
Yeah, for sure. But it'd come full circle
is...
for me. I mean, I don't give
yeah.
rats about NFL football anyways, but I was to the point where it's like so many people hate the Patriots now that I wanted them to win. So congratulations, Patriots.
Good game.
Yeah. No, I only watched one half of NFL football this year, and it was the second half of the Super Bowl.
That's the only football you watched all year.
NFL, yeah.
What did you do on
I would say,
Sundays?
like, even actively. I work
Anything
on
else?
Sundays. I have a wife who I like to spend time with who does not particularly care about NFL football, nor do I. There's lots of things to do on Sundays, Joe. It's the week.
I was just asking what you do with your free time.
Like, that's why they should put NFL football on like a Wednesday or something like that. Like, at least give people a reason to to burn another day. It's like, why are you burning your only off days?
They should definitely have the Super Bowl on Saturday. So that way all the fine working people who, unlike us, work 9 to 5s Monday through Friday can then have the next day off.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a ludicrous
There's
thing.
been some stupid talk about perhaps making it a holiday, which is idiotic. But move it to Saturday.
Like you're going to complain for another holiday.
Well, I mean, you know the way it is with us, Joe. Holidays don't mean anything.
True.
Like a holiday is just another day where the people that you care about and want to spend time with don't have to work, but you do. So
I love football, and it's I just admitted it's a fact. But it would be the dumbest thing in the world for us to have a holiday celebrating and promoting a sport that crushes people's brains.
Yeah.
Let's celebrate. Not only spend lots of money and give these people lots of money and just spin the world around. Let's celebrate the fact that they're killing themselves for our pleasure.
Yeah, there is definitely there's that aspect to it. I that's not the reason that I don't watch.
Oh yeah, no,
football,
I'm
but
not.
but you know I do feel like I can.
You can take the
I
moral
can
high
claim some
ground
kind
on
of
that.
false moral superiority by being like, oh,
Okay, well,
I can't stand to watch these people hurt themselves.
Yeah, too bad.
Yeah.
He's Casey Holdahl. I'm Joe Freeman. Give us a follow on Twitter. You can follow him at @chold. You can follow me at Blazer Freeman, and check out our and our colleagues' fine content at forcaseyblazers.com/forward-center, blazers.com/forward-center, and you can check out my stuff at oregonlive.com/blazers.
oregonlive.com/blazers. I want to
Double
help
it up.
you, Joe. Yeah, exactly.
And then, of course, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or various other subscribable podcasty things.
Yeah, get those Stitcher numbers up.
There you go, Stitcher.
I clicked through on our Stitcher link the other day because I was like, I want to know what this looks like. And
how was it?
It looks kind of cool, actually. I think. I mean,
and what is?
I didn't spend that much time on it, but I don't know. It seems
and
like a good way to consume.
Podcasting.
Yeah, exactly. I think it particularly for people who
Android users
don't like the ubiquity of iTunes. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Well, yeah. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, and if you do, or if you don't, give us a review. We like to.
Yeah, you don't have to listen to give us a review. I don't mind.
Well, I was mostly meaning if you don't subscribe, you can still give us a review if you
gotcha.
listen to it. But yeah, because if they don't listen, they're not going to know to give us a review because they won't have heard us say give us a review.
I don't know. I stop people on the street sometimes, like, hey, you do iTunes reviews, and they're
Check
like,
this
well,
out.
not really. I was like, but well, you know, if you get around to thinking about it, here you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to news and notes. The Blazers defeated the Dallas Mavericks 114-113 Tuesday night in Dallas. C.J. McCollum finished with 32 points and had the game winner on a tough driving floater in the lane with 0.3 seconds left. That's the good news. The bad news, Evan Turner broke the third metacarpal in his right hand in the win and is expected, presumably, to miss a significant amount of time. There, however, has been no timeline for his return, at least initially. However, Turner said he doesn't think he needs surgery. Quick standings update. The win over the Mavs pushed the Blazers into 9th place in the Western Conference, 1 game behind the Nuggets and 2.5 games ahead of the Kings, Mavericks, and Pelicans. The Blazers are about to enter the national spotlight here. Each of their next 2 games against the Boston Celtics on Thursday and the Atlanta Hawks on Monday, both at home, are going to be broadcast on TNT in a random midseason
TNT back-to-back, yeah. So for
crazy.
all of you fans on the East Coast of the Celtics and Hawks, you have to stay up even later to watch the team on the West
take
Coast.
that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We never get that, so I don't.
Yeah.
I feel bad for you guys. You were saying that sarcastically, Joe.
They'll be just fine.
People want to listen or they want to watch.
Oh, I see what you're saying. The Blazers fans usually get the treat of watching it, like, say, 4 or 4.
Yeah, it's a little earlier, and I don't know.
Oh, wait a minute.
I don't know what I'm
that
getting
would
at
actually
here.
be later. So that is good for them that it's early.
Yeah. Bottom line, it
doesn't matter.
If a game starts at 10:30, that's tough. And actually, really, it's more like 10:45.
Yeah.
So.
And then it takes extra long.
Extra long. I feel like the TNT games aren't as long as the ESPN games. Like the ESPN timeouts for me.
You think so?
I feel like they're longer. I'm sure that's wrong.
We've had a lot of ESPN and TNT games.
Yeah, well, with that new
over the last 3 or 4
kind of
weeks.
schedule thing they've been doing, and this is kind of where the Blazers kind of made their move last year. So I don't know if maybe kind of national broadcasts are like, yeah, maybe they'll do it again this year. But I mean, those are some good games, though. I mean, Blazers Celtics was already one good game in Boston a couple weeks ago, and Blazers. I think the Hawks are the only team the Blazers have not played so far this year.
Have we? We haven't gone to Atlanta yet?
No.
Oh no, we go there in March.
Yeah,
we're gonna be in Atlanta for like 3 days.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Super.
yeah. That's actually, I think my sisters are going to come up and visit.
Hey, that'll be fun. I've never done anything in Atlanta. Like,
Me
I've
neither.
never gone anywhere in Atlanta. I've never had, for whatever reason, there's just never been time to do anything there. So I guess, it'd be nice to see a little bit of the city.
I'm sure there's something in redeeming about it.
Oh, I hear it's a lovely town.
Speaking of which, I booked some tickets with a friend last week to go to Atlanta over, I guess it's Labor Day weekend. Is that the one in September?
Yeah, I think that sounds
because
right.
I'm going to watch the Florida State Seminoles play the Alabama Crimson Tide.
All right.
Kickoff Classic. So that's exciting news in the Freeman household.
Yeah, maybe Chip Kelly will be the OC at Alabama by then.
Or maybe Mark Helfrich.
Or Mark Helfrich.
Or maybe both of them.
If for your sake, I hope it's Mark Helfrich.
My sake?
Yeah.
What do I? Oh,
because that'll give you a better chance to win that game, Joe.
Whatever. I don't see Nick Saban working with Chip Kelly in any capacity.
Either.
That's a lot of ego in the room.
I can't believe Steve Sarkisian got a promotion to the NFL. It's like between Pete Carroll should get like 20% of both Sarkisian's and what's his name, Kiffin's salary, because that those guys have been caking off that USC run for like 10 years now with no success whatsoever.
Well, Kiffin especially has more or less failed everywhere he's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, he did well as an OC in Alabama, and they did win a title and everything, but like when he's been a head guy, it's failed miserably, and it's gone horribly.
Yeah, that's the thing though. There are just some guys in all of sports. They're just like they just keep getting jobs.
Well, his dad's a coach, a very prominent coach.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I mean, I think that gives you a little bit of street cred, and then you get in the system, and once you're in the system, you're just kind of in.
Again, man, that's the patriarchy.
Yeah.
It's keeping the power in power.
Well, it's kind of the old debate too of like, and you've seen it sort of. I think it's trending back in the NBA where you sort of go for new blood, and all of a sudden they were hiring coaches who had no experience at all and were really young and didn't even play, which that's anti of what it used to be. You had to be a player to be a coach. Now I feel like it's kind of going back to where they're going with more experienced coaches, generally speaking, and kind of using that as more of a value than a detriment.
Yeah, I'd say that's true. Again, and I've said this for years and years and years, for former players, you have to be like a specific kind of former player to be a good coach. Mm-hmm. And, I think for the most part, the top level guys just don't. It's a different mentality, and they don't have it when it comes to coaching. And just in general.
Didn't Magic Johnson have a horribly failed experiment as a coach in L.A. for like 21 games or something? Yeah.
And I think they actually played okay. It was just he was like, nah, I can't do this.
I think on the flip side that NBA players, particularly the talented ones, can succeed in a front office role.
Yeah.
Because you can still evaluate talent.
Oh, yeah.
And you can still, roster composition and all that.
And, I mean, obviously, and there are some players. I mean, like Jason Kidd was obviously a high caliber player and is a pretty good NBA coach.
True. Well, he's had a lot of good coaching gigs.
Yeah, he does keep getting gigs. I'll give him that. Who else? I mean, Steve Kerr, obviously, but Steve Kerr was, a good NBA player, but definitely not a star player by any stretch.
Well, a lot of the older coaches were pretty good players, like the Rick Adelmans. Well, I guess he's not.
Well, again,
anymore.
I mean, I would say Rick Adelman is along the same lines of a Steve Kerr.
Yeah.
That,
so you're talking like
a good
prominent.
Yeah, I'm talking about like the. The guys who, and I just think there's a mentality that like coaching is easy. I think because players who are great at a certain point, it's somewhat easy. It's not easy for them, but it's easier than it is for even other NBA players. That's not the case with coaching.
No, you have to work your ass off in every possible way.
And everyone in professional sports typically works very hard, but coaching is like a different level of work. Yeah. It's grotesque. I can't imagine what would ever kind of spark someone to get into coaching. That's tough, man.
In many ways, you're living a very unhealthy life. There's not a lot of balance going on there.
I mean, the whole idea of work-life balance is basically non-existent.
Nate McMillan was a pretty good player. Not a star, but a pretty good player.
Yeah, I would put Nate along the same lines of like a Steve Kerr. Yeah. Like a good player, but not a guy who was ever like. And again, I mean, Nate's a good example of a player that the type of players that I think make good coaches, in that he's a grinder. I mean, like he's a guy who has to fight to get into the league, and so I think you build a work ethic at that point that is helpful going into coaching.
I wonder if Greg Popovich was a good player.
Did he play it?
I believe so.
He went to Air Force or West Point. He went to one of the academies. I don't think he played.
No?
No.
Doc Rivers? Pretty good player.
Pretty good player, yeah.
Jason Kidd. I think Jason Kidd's a good call. That's probably the best.
Yeah,
one.
Jason Kidd is.
Jeff Hornacek was a good player.
Yeah, that I mentioned the other day, dude. So I made the mistake one time of saying that Jeff Hornacek was a role player, and his agent on Twitter just went at me for like 2 hours about it, and I was just like, dude, I mean, like, what do you want me to say? Like, I'm not dogging the guy or anything, but like, he was at best he was the third best player on his team. Like, and again, that's not a knock. It's just, you weren't like a perennial all-star or even like, I don't know. I just thought it was an odd response, I thought.
Yeah, he likes to mix it up on Twitter. He gets into
good
it.
for him. I mean, you know me, Joe.
Yeah, you're not one to shy away from for Twitter beef. All right, let's get on to the show, I guess. I mean,
actual stuff people actually care about.
So I don't really know where we should. I guess the kind of topic of the moment is Evan Turner and his broken hand.
Yeah,
we might as well start there.
That would be the main topic of the day.
We don't really have a timeline for how long he'll be out. He did say after last night's game that he did not expect to have surgery. Of course, this is initial diagnosis in another city at another machine with different doctors, so obviously that can change after a second opinion, but no surgery would facilitate a faster return, I believe.
You would imagine. Yeah, anytime you got to cut someone open, it's going to add some time. And basically, when you do surgery for a bone, it means you're probably inserting a screw.
Sure.
So that obviously is going to take some time to heal. I was there last night. Both kind of when we were talking to Evan, with the recorders on, and then kind of after everyone else had left, and myself and your colleague Mike Richmond and Evan were all just kind of sitting there talking, and part of me felt like he was kind of almost trying to convince himself a little bit that he wasn't going to have surgery. But I mean, the fact that he said it didn't hurt that bad, he went back out and played another couple minutes before he exited the game. And it's a third metacarpal. It's top of your hand, so I think it's fairly
exposed.
Kind of exposed, exactly, easy to get to. I mean, I think it's obviously not a good thing that he's injured, but of the injuries to have, particularly bone injuries, that's probably not the absolute worst one. But
shooting hand.
Yeah, it is a shooting hand. So
he had a sweet assist after he broke his hand. Shortly after he got in a fast break scene. Mm-hmm. And it was a fairly long pass, like maybe 3-point line, or maybe it was in, and he threw just a dime left-handed, like a scoop pass to someone for a layup. It was pretty nice, actually.
Yeah, both myself and Mike Richmond and Dwight James were at the game last night, and we were all trying to figure out when he broke it. And so I think Dwight had someone at CSN send him a clip that was around like the 5-minute mark, and he like hit it again on the baseline, and I kind of started writing my story, but I was like, wait a minute, I made note of that earlier than that, and so I went back and then I looked when he airballed that three, because that was like the possession 2 or 3 possessions after he hurt his hand, then we saw the video of him breaking it, basically trying to get around a screen. So again, too, like the way he broke it as well, like that's
fluke.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think kind of some of those injuries are like. I mean, that's third metacarpal, I believe, is what the injury Chris Paul had in the playoffs last year, and he got his finger stuck in Gerald Henderson's jersey. So I mean, it's one of those things. It's not obviously the worst thing in the world, but he's going to be out for a while.
I don't know if this makes any sense at all, but it's kind of good timing, bad timing thing. It's bad timing because this is arguably the most important stretch of the Blazers season. If they're going to make any type of push to solidify a playoff spot, now's a pretty good time to do that. So from that standpoint, it couldn't be worse timing. But you do have the All-Star break, which gives you a week of a break there with no basketball, where there's no games, where you automatically get some time to heal. The schedule is a little lighter in February, obviously, in part because of that. But even now to the All-Star break, there's just 3 games over a week's standpoint. So basically, over the next 2 weeks to 15 days, the Blazers play 3 games. And if you want to go even further, let's see, 2 weeks plus 4 days is 18 days? They play 4 games over the next 18 days. So you can't ask for a lighter schedule than that in the middle of the season. But again, horrible timing as far as just what it means for the Blazers right now, because not only are they making this push, but with Terry making the change to the starting lineup, which Evan was a focal point of, they had finally sort of, I think, settled on a rotation, settled on a starting lineup, and sort of were getting their mojo a little bit. As we had seen, they had a modicum of success because of the change, and that throws all that out of the water.
Yeah.
Now all that is gone, and then you're working a new lineup in, and you're trying to build, chemistry or whatever with that. So now it's and then when he comes back, you have to reintegrate him, so it's kind of a mess from that standpoint. But the question is, do you just go back to the old starting lineup now? Or do you leave Noah in, or do you plug someone else in alongside Noah? Like, there's a lot of different ways you could go. And if
I don't know, actually. I kind of disagree with it. I don't know that there are that many different ways they could go.
So how would you go then?
I think you probably have to go back to the original starting lineup. I don't see how, like, who do you replace Evan with? So you can go with AC
Mo or Aminu or AC.
Well, I don't think you do it with Aminu because I don't think you can. Not that you can't, but I don't think playing Vonleh and Aminu together makes a whole lot of sense, considering that Aminu is better at power forward and Noah is not playing the 3. So
neither of them give you a lot of offense.
Exactly. So I mean, you could go with AC, but you lose the playmaking aspects that you had with Turner, which is why he was out there with Damon CJ anyways. You go with Mo, same thing. So I to me, it probably makes the most sense just to get back into that previous rotation. Obviously, you're going to need guys to step up. Alan Crabb is, regardless of whether or not he starts or not, is going to be incredibly important. Same with Mo. I feel like Mo has been playing a bit better lately as well, so I think that's probably a good sign. But I don't know that they really have that many options. I think it's kind of they're a bit stuck. I wouldn't be surprised if Vonleh went from starting to maybe not playing hardly at all.
Yeah, it's a tough decision. I mean, I guess on the surface it's easy to plug the starting lineup back in and call it good, but one of the chief reasons you made those changes was to improve a bench that had been drastically underperforming.
Very
and
true.
So if you do that, not only then are you going back to that situation, but you lose one of the more important pieces off the bench, if not the most, because Evan's not playing.
Sure.
So then, So.
Well, I mean, I could see going with Mo and sticking with Vonleh, so that way you still have AC and Aminu in that second lineup. I could see that. I don't know that it obviously doesn't. It's probably a better shooting lineup, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because Mo is a better shooter than Evan. Obviously not the ball handler that Evan is. It'll be interesting to see which way Terry goes.
Yeah.
What do you think it's going to be, Joe? Let's get ourselves on record here.
Boy,
I'm on record saying I think they'll go back to the Aminu Harkless forward rotation.
Man, I really don't know. I guess I would lean that way, but that's going to mess up you're going to have a lot less firepower on the bench.
Yeah.
And then you're basically relying on CJ to be a bench player, kind of going back to last year a little bit. But then there's just not enough there. Boy.
Well, and the only kind of insight into what Terry might do, and I don't think this is a particularly
insightful
insight, but it is what happened, is in the game last night. After Turner went out, the way that they made up for his minutes in the rotation was to have Damon CJ play the entire fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Like that was the option they took.
That was on the fly.
So one, I mean, you figure their minutes are going to increase with Turner out anyways. I don't know they'll necessarily be they're both going to play the entire fourth quarter. And the way that the game was going, I think also played into that a bit as well, seeing as how it was so close in the fourth. But AC gets more minutes, you assume that's a given. Same with Mo. But yeah, it's gonna reverberate to the guards as well. And yeah, I would guess both Dame and CJ will probably see 2 more minutes per game with Turner out. Just a guess.
Yeah, it's definitely it's going to throw a wrench into everything, no question. And I mean, you would think, based upon the broken metacarpals that we've seen just in a quick kind of internet research, you would think he'd miss at least 4 weeks or around a month.
You're talking about a broken bone on his shooting hands. I mean, again, Turner was like, what did he say? He's like, I broke my back in college, and I think he said back, which
he did.
Okay, and he said that he broke it sometime in mid-December, and he was playing it again by mid-January. So, and I don't know exactly what the nature of that injury was. Obviously, backs are different than hands. Not that you don't use your back all the time, but I mean, you literally use your hand all the time, particularly if you're right-handed, if you're Evan Turner and you're dribbling the ball a lot. So, I mean, you have to make sure that you get it healed. And I guess that's the way that they play during this stretch might also kind of define how they go about that rehabilitation. Because, I mean, if they come out and they're still able to kind of stick around in that 8th spot, then, I think there's obviously more of an impetus to get him back out there. If they come out and play really well, then maybe they say, hey, take your time, Evan. And if they come out and play really poorly and they kind of fall out of that race, then maybe it's, hey, there's no point in entering this any further if we're already kind of out of this thing. So.
It's interesting that you bring that up because I didn't go on this trip. I was at home and I played basketball on Tuesday nights and I was at my game and I checked my phone after our game was over and saw that Evan had broke a bone in his hand. I was like, holy crap! And, I announced because most of the people in there are Blazers fans. And there was a sizable contingent that was like, good.
Yeah. No, I saw some of that response being like, okay.
Let's fold it up here. Let's get that tank underway was essentially
Well, I feel like there's kind of two responses to that. One is let's tank, and the other one is, well, is Turner that good anyways?
Yeah.
I saw some of that as well. So
there was none of that. I think anybody that actually pays attention has seen
lately. Yeah. I mean, there has been I mean, Turner is a helpful player in that starting lineup particularly. Yeah. Obviously a rough start to the season and still maybe not exactly what people were hoping for, but when we were actually on the flight home and I was just thinking about how Evans played and so on and so forth, and just about how, maybe this season isn't going to be what anyone wanted it to be. But I think that you start feeling better about having Evan Turner on your team long term after, I would say, the last month and a half.
Yeah.
Whereas I would say before that, people were probably kind of thinking, how can we get out of this? I think that while it's been kind of a slower burn than people may have liked, I think you are kind of starting to see
his value.
The idea. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's not a bad player. You start to appreciate him the more you see. It's a little bit, and I said this from the beginning, it's a little bit like Andre Miller. I mean, at first, nobody liked him, and then he warmed up to him, and you started to appreciate him. Well, one thing that his injury did overshadow was a very not only important win by the Blazers, but a fun win in a fun basketball game. I mean, guys on both sides just hitting crazy shots and clutch shots. Dirk looking like he was 30 and CJ balling. Dame obviously had a fantastic start to the game. Really an entertaining basketball game and in a lot of ways an important win for the Blazers as they sort of try to cement that status as the 8th seed. The head-to-head, getting that over Dallas was huge, especially after the brutal loss they had last week to Dallas.
Well, they tied the season series, right?
Yeah.
So what?
Well, if they had lost it, they would.
Well, right. Yeah. Okay. So they haven't they don't necessarily have that tiebreaker, but at least they don't have the guaranteed non-tiebreaker of losing the season series. So after. What is it after head-to-head? Is it?
I think it's conference record.
Conference record? Yeah,
so,
that was kind of the first thing that came to my head, too. So, a very entertaining game. And, I think a good kind of encapsulation of particularly the play of Damian and CJ. And I feel like there's, I'm seeing some comments about, is CJ kind of the guy you go to now in the fourth quarter? And I think there's some validity there. But I think that, Damian was talking last night about how it's not like Terry has to come to him or to CJ and be like, hey, it's going to be you tonight in the fourth quarter. It's going to be him, or we're going to go to CJ. And it's like they already talk about that stuff between themselves. And both players have talked too about how they kind of go back and forth between Damian's going to kind of go off. He's going to feed the ball to him early, and then they're going to go to CJ late, or CJ's going to kind of get it early, and then Dame's going to be late. And that's typically what it has been. But that's starting to flop a little bit as CJ is really starting to build a reputation as a clutch scorer in the fourth quarter. And Damian still, I think it gets a little. I mean, he hasn't had those great clutch late game shots that he's had in the past, but he's still 7th in fourth quarter scoring. He's still very good in the fourth quarter. He's just not getting those. He's not getting those game winners like he has in the past. And CJ getting one last night and really doing it and scoring the last 7 points too. At
34 seconds. Yeah, Dame had he had a little stretch right before the end there where he was sort of trying to take over, and I know he hit a big jumper. Well, it was kind of a bad shot. It was like his foot was on the 3-point line, or his 1 foot in, but he wasn't having as much success. And then I noticed with a couple minutes left, he got the ball to CJ and then just ran to the wing, and it was sort of like, okay, it's CJ's time right now, which I thought was interesting, going to the point that you're making right there. And I mentally went, I wonder if that's Stott's call or if that's Dame and CJ figuring that out, or how that came to be. It's interesting in those moments how that, with two guys like that, and like you mentioned, Lillard time and all that, to defer is probably not easy.
Yeah, and sometimes too, I think we assume that it's like they're drawing up a play and it's like, okay, this play's for CJ.
No, they're just running a set.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like and then Terry talked about that last night. When the defenders go to Dame, you pass the ball to CJ. When the defenders go to CJ, you pass the ball to Dame. When the defenders go to both of those guys, Evan Turner gets a 3-pointer in the corner to potentially win a game. So, it's not like there's like, we drew up this play and if CJ gets the ball, we're saying that CJ's the guy, and if Dame gets the ball, we're saying Dame's the guy. It's like, no,
there's usually multiple.
You got to pick.
Yeah,
exactly. And teams know that a lot of times they're going to go to Damian, which I think CJ gets a little bit of a benefit from. Obviously, CJ's ability to get defenders, out of balance and to get into the paint, and I think CJ's floater is better than Dame's at this point. And they're just different ways they get to the rim, and I think particularly late in games when I think referees typically are a bit loath to blow the whistle, I think CJ's kind of hesitation stutter step play is maybe a bit more effective than Damian's kind of getting past his defender and getting to the rim play, because what happens then, you get contact under the basket, and maybe the referee's going to call a foul, but most of the time they're not. So I think CJ just kind of gives you a little more room to operate, and
CJ's game winner was obviously nice, but the one before that, the 3-point play was next level.
I mean, he finished through I think West was holding his arm basically,
even to get to the rim as he did. I mean, the whole thing was pretty impressive. CJ was on one late. He had some big shots.
Yeah, no,
what do you have? 13 in the fourth or 15?
I believe it was either 13 or 14. I believe. Yeah.
I mean, that was a.
And Damian scored 22 of his 29 in the first half. So so I feel like there's been a lot of talk lately about, well, it's got to be one guy or the other, and can these two guys coexist? It's like, well, yes, because one guy can do something beginning of the game, and the other guy can do something at the end of the game, and it allows you to play how the defense is guarding you in some respects. So, it's not amazing, but it's just interesting to me how much of the talk kind of among the fan base lately has been dominated by
is CJ
are
taking
Dame
over?
and CJ compatible, or is CJ the man now? And it's like, I mean, and which are fun conversations, but at some point I don't know that it's kind of like it's debating what your favorite color is.
Isn't it possible that CJ gets the room that he gets to operate because Dame gets so much attention from the defense?
And vice versa too, though. I mean, and that's something you can't you can't separate that out. There's no vacuum to put that into where, unless the times that Damian and CJ aren't on the court together, which I think for both players has shown neither is nearly as effective than when they're on the court at the same time together. And there's a reason for that, because they put a lot of pressure on defenses that one of those guys alone does not do.
Yeah, I think and this is essentially what you had just touched on a bit ago, but one thing that last night does, and not just last night, but over the course of CJ's growth and evolution, is he does give the Blazers another weapon in late game situations.
Absolutely.
And to evolve, for the Blazers to evolve and diversify like that is important. You're not just seeing Lillard time. As you mentioned, Evan Turner had a chance against Oklahoma City. This is CJ's second chance against Dallas. He had that first 3-point try when he and Dame missed back-to-back at that loss in Portland last week. And to know that there's different weapons, I think, is more ideal than just having to rely on one player.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, and you go back to when Batum was evolving or emerging as a late game threat. He had a game winner. He had an assist on a late game, that sort of a thing. To know that there's a weapon there, and then you have Dame, and of course back then you had LA. But we've seen Terry draw up plays from Mason Plumlee at the end of games. Yeah. Alan Crabb could have had a chance a while back if he wanted to, but he passed up the shot at the 3-point line. So there are different ways to go, and I think when you have more weapons like that, it just makes the defense have to scramble even more. Yeah. So
and I will say too, I think that Damian was maybe a little reluctant to give that up. Sure, even earlier this season.
Sure,
but I think that he realizes that what's best for the team is best for the team, and I think no one appreciates CJ's game more than Damian does. So I think that seeing him have the success that he's had, I think even subconsciously it's like, okay, I can give this up. It doesn't have to be me, and I think that's great going forward. I don't know that it's going to help him out a whole lot this year with how far behind they are already, but I think again it lays a good groundwork for the future.
Yeah, and on a completely, not totally unrelated, but on a tangent, what's up with everybody taking the Lillard time now? It's Isaiah Thomas was doing it, and I saw John Wall do it.
Yeah, come on,
you got to come up with your own thing.
Yeah.
That's sort of, he doesn't own a trademark or patent on it or anything, but he more or less trademarked that.
Yeah, he's been doing it for a while now, and that's I don't. It's dumb.
It's what it is, yeah.
So, but it is odd that it's like, well, yeah, but Isaiah Thomas has been good in the fourth quarter this year, so he can do it. It's like, but Damian been doing that for 3 years now.
Yeah,
and again, that's kind of the thing he did. I know that probably at some point in time throughout the history of the NBA, other players have done it.
Sure.
I think someone mentioned Reggie Miller having done it before, but that's Damian's thing. Dame time, Lillard time.
Wouldn't you
that's been going on for a
want to
while
have
now.
something different?
You would think so.
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know what you do. It just comes in, naturally. Dame didn't sit around and go, I'm going to tap my wrist.
It would make sense to me if, Blazers are obviously playing the Celtics tomorrow. If Isaiah Thomas comes out and hits a game winner in the fourth quarter against the Blazers and taps his wrist, that's legit.
Now
that's fair game because you got it.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't know. I agree, Joe. It's wouldn't you kind of want your own thing?
Yeah.
It's pretty synonymous with Damian at this point.
You didn't see NBA players running around doing,
no.
Well, I guess a couple kind of mocked it. But the 3 goggles, when Wes was doing that, that was a Blazers.
Well, and again, it's fine to mock. To me, that's much better.
Oh, that's better.
If Isaiah Thomas or John Wall were doing it to mock Damian,
sure.
It's kind of a jerk move, but I understand it. That makes sense.
Game.
Exactly. That's the sport. Doing it to be this is my thing. It's no, dog, come on, man.
Now, I know that John Wall and Dame are relatively tight.
Yeah,
so I don't know if he lent him that for a bit or he went rogue, you know what I mean? But
if you wanted to extrapolate that out, I would think it would be more like,
hey, leave my ish alone.
No, more like, hey, if Isaiah Thomas is going to do it, why don't you do it too then?
Yeah.
Just have everyone do it. Every time someone scores the fourth, they'll just be like, yeah, check it out. It's my time.
Isaiah Thomas has been fantastic.
Dude,
I voted for him
been awesome.
to the All-Star as a starter.
100% awesome.
Yeah.
You cannot say anything bad about Isaiah Thomas's game. He's been great.
Except for this, come up with your own thing. Yeah. Especially if you're dope and you're balling, you need to come up with your own thing for your own brand, for your own...
Yeah, act like you're pulling out a pocket watch out of your jersey or something.
Sure,
if you want to stay clock-related, go with that. Because literally, it would be like if the Blazers started doing Geno time on the Jumbotron and blowouts, which is what the Boston Celtics have this thing. It's called Geno time.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I love it. It's a video of I think I don't know if it was it was one of those 70s/80s dance shows where bands just show up and play music and then people dance. And
what was it, Night at the Apollo or something?
Well, it wasn't that because
flash dance,
it's white dudes, but yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. So long story short, whenever they have a blowout, they have this video of this guy who's wearing a shirt that says Geno time, and he's got a Italian afro and
polyester bell bottoms.
Yeah, bell bottoms. He's doing the whole disco dance thing, and it's fantastic.
I
love it.
Crowd loves it.
But if the Blazers started doing their own version of Geno time when they're up late in the fourth quarter, Celtics fans rightfully so would be like, no, that's
what
our
the hell?
thing.
Yeah.
Or and Celtics specifically, because the Celtics have very good game ops, and they used to do peanut butter jelly time.
Yeah,
too.
that
so
was
the
good too.
Blazers started doing peanut butter jelly time, all of a sudden it'd be like, come on, guys, that's our thing. We were doing that 20 years ago.
Yeah, you can come up with something, man. Give yourself a salute, or I mean, I don't know. There's 800 other things you can do, and I know it's again in the heat of the moment, and it just comes naturally. But it came naturally because you saw someone else do it for 3 years. Like it.
Yeah. And actually, my last thing I'll say about it is, while I think it's kind of weak, the Celtics or Isaiah Thomas and the Celtics kind of promoting it as they have. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. The NBA, however, should stay out of it. You don't be promoting that stuff and acting like it's like, oh yeah, this is a thing. It's like, no,
whatever. There's some 20-year-old kid sitting behind a computer.
No, there's not. And let's dispel the idea that social media accounts are being run by interns. They're not. The NBA, I don't know how many followers they have. They ain't letting no interns get in touch with that Twitter account. I do think they could do a better job with it, but they're not leaving that to some college grad or recent grad or college student that's posting stuff on social media. That might have been true like in the earliest days of social media, but people get stupid cash doing social media stuff like that.
Do they really?
The ones that work for larger companies, social media manager or whatever they call it. I think in a lot of places you're getting 6 figs.
So are you saying that we should pursue different careers?
No, because I've run that Twitter account before, and it is not fun.
Yeah, and actually, and the Blazers obviously came under fire. Was it last week? Or a couple weeks ago?
He's on Memphis.
It was the Memphis win, whatever it was. And I'm sure everybody knows about that. But, like, that is not as easy of a job as it sounds because you're making decisions on the fly and you're trying to be clever or cute or funny or whatever. And it's a fine line between being funny and offensive. And it's could be easy to get into hot wire. Well, so that makes you appreciate. And the Blazers have been recognized for their social media. You guys have been recognized for your social media for a couple years now by
they do a great job with it. Chris Coivisto, Cody Sherritt, Dwayne Hankins, TJ
guys
Ansley.
Doing the videos and stuff too.
Justin and Dane and Koji. No, they all do a great job.
So it's, it just goes to show that it just takes one slip up to,
But my point though is it's not necessarily even a slip up. Like, because you don't know how someone is going to take something.
True.
Like, and that's what it is. It's the reaction. So, like, you could tweet something and have it be fairly benign, but then if people react to it a certain way, that's what you have to deal with. And that's the hardest part, I think, with doing social media is you have to consider so many different viewpoints all the time.
It's impossible.
And what's really important is having good management. Because if you have a management that is reactive and scared, for lack of a better term, then your social media is going to reflect that. Yeah, exactly. But if you work for organizations such as the Trailblazers that support their employees, and when they say they're going to do something and they do it, and then people don't like it, they don't just necessarily write that off and say, well, that was a mistake, so that person's gone. Yeah. Like and that's happened before. I mean that fellow who worked for the Rockets with that tweet a couple years ago. I mean, like, they just cut him loose because it's easier than just saying, hey, we made a mistake. We'll try not to do it again.
About the tweet that got Parsons involved, and I thought was pretty hilarious all around, was that tweet had been sent out by the Blazers. It was not a new tweet. It was a recycled tweet that he had done in the past, a couple years ago or whatever, to another player on another team. Mm. And it all is about the reaction of the player and how it gains steam and all that. So, I mean, I thought Parsons was having fun with it. I thought
I did too. Yeah. Absolutely. But that's another thing about social media is that everyone always wants to take it from people are having fun to people are fighting. Yeah. And it's like, and that's not the case.
Yeah. Well,
like,
it depends on the subject.
And sometimes that's the case. But I mean, like, you only have 140 characters. You have to be terse.
Yeah. All right. Should we get to questions?
Yeah, let's.
All right. First up and by the way, you can submit questions to it. You know what? Someone emailed us a question. 2 people emailed us questions.
No kidding.
And I totally forgot last episode, and I didn't get that.
Do you have them now?
I'd have to check. I'll try to check when we're answering questions here. Sure. We usually solicit them on Twitter. You can follow us again. Casey's at Seahold, and I am at Blazer Freeman. First up from Tobias Sanchezo. Ed Davis is getting it done. Can we stop benching him, please? #Blazers.
When Ed plays, well, yeah. And I think that Ed has been playing better lately. He has been fighting kind of minor injuries here and there. So in some regards, it's not like he's being benched. He's just been injured. But yeah, when Ed plays like Ed played last night, I thought Ed's going to get minutes.
Yeah, Ed has not had as good a year as he had last year, and particularly early in the season for long stretches, he was fairly ineffective, and so he sort of earned his own lack of playing time there for a while, and then he got hurt, and then it kind of devolved into what it's become. But going into the season, if we flash back to when we first potted in September, October, whatever it was, I think we sort of foresaw an issue where someone's not going to play.
Yeah.
There's just only so many minutes to go around and so many guys. So I think in the right matchups where a big of Ed's caliber is needed, Terry will turn to him. In a different matchup where he needs shooting or a team goes small, then he won't go to Ed. So I think that's just how it's going to be moving forward.
Yeah. Because I also think we have another question, and it's basically the same thing about Meyers Leonard. And why isn't Meyers Leonard playing? So, I mean, Terry has been juggling that lineup. And, and again, the reason why Ed is playing one night and Meyers is playing another night and Noah, particularly before he entered the starting lineup, was playing another night was because none of those guys had gone out and secured those minutes on their own.
Job.
I mean,
earn the
talked
job
about that for years. Like
earn the job
with Thomas Robinson, with Meyers a couple years ago. Like it's always like, well, why isn't this guy playing or why isn't that guy playing? It's like bottom line is it's because they haven't gone out and taken that mantle. Like that's on the player. And if you're just, and I it's true, and I understand, and I agree with the notion that if you're not necessarily playing consistently, it is hard to build that. But especially for guys on the bench, TS, you have to.
Yeah, the question you mentioned was from Matt Paluska, who asked, why does Noah Vonleh get the benefit of the doubt while Meyers is left on the bench? And Matt, I appreciate your perspective, but I think anybody who has watched the team play this season has come to the conclusion that Meyers is not having a good year, and he has not been consistent enough, and he simply has not earned those minutes this season. So it's up to you whether you give up on him permanently or not, but right now he's not playing well enough to earn that playing time.
No.
And as far as the Vonleh aspect of it, I think we talked about it last podcast, the advanced metrics and all that stuff and the deep NBA stance or stats suggest that lineup with Noah, a part of it, is one of the better performing lineups that the Blazers have. So, and they had success last year with Noah in that starting lineup in that similar role. So I think that was also part of the reason. But Noah, Vonleh, and Meyers bring you different things.
Yeah.
And Noah, if nothing else, is going to charge hard for a rebound and fight in traffic for stuff, whereas Meyers is has become more of a perimeter-oriented player, and the Blazers already have plenty of that in their starting lineup. So it doesn't make sense to put Meyers in the starting lineup.
Yeah, it's I mean, you basically said it, Joe. I mean, Noah's playing what, like 17 minutes? Noah is fulfilling that Nicholas Batum as a rookie role right now, basically, which is like he starts and he plays some minutes in the first quarter, he plays some minutes in the third quarter, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
And he goes out, and Noah at least gives you energy. And in that starting lineup, which now is going to be rejiggered, so who knows how that plays out. And this might all be moot at this point going forward, but what Vonleh gives you, which is energy and rebounding and, I would say scoring at the basket, though he's had a dastardly time of getting buckets to go early in games, because I feel like they have been trying to feed him a little bit earlier in games, as they've done in the past with guys like Robin Lopez, just trying to get them a few good looks and maybe loosen up the defense a little bit. He's having some issues scoring when he's getting those looks, particularly thinking about last night's game. I think he had like 3 or 4 misses in the first 2 minutes of the game at the rim. So that's not great. But again, Mike Meyers isn't giving you that either. So I think it makes sense to go with Noah. I mean, I would like to see Meyers playing some, but again, you got to earn those minutes, and I think it's hard to claim that he has at this point.
Okay, so I dug up this question. It was from January 23rd, so I apologize for not asking it sooner. It's from Jim, or answering it sooner. It's from Jim Connect. Thanks for the question, Jim. It's a little longer because it's on email, so bear with me. You said we could submit via email, so here goes. My question is about the refs, and not the question you might suspect. Refs are human. They miss calls both ways, and superstars get away with more in all sports. My question is this. Are the Blazers' young players less able to pivot mid-game to how the calls are going compared to veteran teams? It would be great to have a one or two quote-unquote old-timers around to share experience. Anyway, great podcast, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, thanks, Jim.
I don't know that. I mean, I'll start with the last part there. I don't know that old timers are really the best guys to show you how to not foul players, because you used to be able to get away with a whole lot more back in the day, as I'm doing air quotes right now. And I think there is a valid point there about adjusting to the referees, but the Blazers just have a hard time not fouling. Period. I mean, like that's. Long story short, it doesn't matter how the refs are calling the game. Blazers for the last couple seasons have had a hard time of. I mean, I think they led the NBA last year in fouls. I think they got to be near the top this year if they're not at the top. And part of it is, I don't know. I mean, the guy who I always think of when it comes to defense and fouling for the Blazers is Allen Crabbe. I mean, like Allen seems to just get like 2 or 3 like just kind of head scratching, reaching calls every single game. And Blazers last night were fighting foul trouble. Plumlee, I think, had 5. Did someone foul out last night? I feel like someone fouled out. Maybe that was that was Oklahoma City. Plumlee fouled out.
Mason and Dame were close.
I think AC had 5 as well. So I think it would be helpful for the Blazers to adjust how they play sometimes, but I don't know if that's how possible that is.
Okay, next up from Trevor. Outside of Dame and CJ, does this Portland roster have any other potential all-stars on it?
Probably not.
No.
It's always possible. One, anytime we're talking about potential all-stars in the Western Conference, I mean,
it's tough sledding.
Yeah, it's a very hard team to get on anyways. Let me look at this roster.
I mean, look at Dame and CJ.
Yeah, exactly. They can't even get on, and they're good.
Yeah, so yeah. I don't know. I mean, it would take a special season, and if it does have a special season, assuming all these players are on the same team, unless you're the Golden State Warriors, you're not going to get more than 2 players on a team. Or, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to be loaded with 4. The Warriors are the exception to the rule, obviously, for all examples. But I don't see it beyond Dame and CJ. I mean, Dame's been on twice, and CJ's never even been on. Yeah. We need to more talk about is CJ going to be an all-star? Yeah. Okay, next up from Cody Sherritt. Do you use beard oil? I just use regular conditioner about once a week.
I don't. I mean, mine's short enough to where I don't do anything.
I'm more of a beard. Is it balm or what's it called?
Yeah, I mean that's balm, but I mean it's basically an oil, right?
Yeah,
or lotion,
I prefer to use that over the oil, and I do use beard balm fairly regularly, not every day, but I use beard balm. It's good.
Now, does that keep it from like getting like itchy or scratchy?
It's supposedly good for it in a variety of ways. It's good for your skin underneath, and it's good for to keep it, shaped nicely, to keep from hairs going left and right and up and down and all that stuff. And yeah, I think it's just good for the general health of your beard. But yeah.
Way to go, beard people.
All right, next up from Ronnie Stewart. When is it time to stop cheering for ex-players that were good for us, to us? Examples, Wesley Matthews and Will Barton.
I don't know.
Never? You can cheer for whoever you want to.
I mean, yeah, I don't think... I mean, I think giving a guy some applause as he's announced in the game for the first time is great. I don't see it. And it's not like people are cheering Wes when he's hitting 3-pointers in the fourth quarter.
Throwing bow and arrow bombs.
Center. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's always nice to show appreciation for players who did well by you. And just like, we don't get this question about when are people going to stop booing Ray Felton or Peter Turkoglu if he's still in the league or whoever else is.
Well, let's say that Ronnie's going a step deeper where he's actually cheering for the players during the game.
Okay.
Now, that's a different thing. I still say you can do that until you get into a situation where you really need a win and you're cheering for the opponent, or you get to the playoffs and you're cheering for opponent. As a fan, if I were a fan, I would not do that. I would root for the general health and success of that player when they're not playing the team that I love.
Yeah. I mean, in general, I think it's it's never a bad thing to support people,
Yeah.
At least in some regards.
But no, I don't know that there's any hard and fast rule. I would say it's totally case by case. I mean, you cheered for Wesley Matthews for 5 years. You grew to appreciate and respect and love his game. You can't just turn that off because he leaves.
And I will say, too, that I respect just as I respect people's right and willingness to cheer for former players, I also respect people's decision to not cheer for former players. Because, it just depends on what kind of a fan you are. Like, if you're like these are my guys and that's it, and everyone else can go cram it with walnuts, then yeah, you're probably not going to be cheering Wesley Matthews or Nick Batum or LaMarcus, who gets booed, I guess. So again, like it cuts both ways, I suppose.
Speaking of Wes, a little side note to last night's game winner by CJ was that it was on Wes.
Yeah.
He juiced him on the perimeter and charged ahead, and there's a little something there because CJ played behind Wes for a couple years, and Wes, that was a little added benefit for CJ on that one.
If I had more time last night, I was going to try to get there. I did ask CJ about being guarded by Wes when they were teammates and how if that helped at all. And
the eye roll followed.
Well, no, I didn't get the eye roll. I mean, I got an answer, but I just didn't have it. I just didn't have it in me last night to. Well, and the other problem too was that CJ was talking, and CJ and Damian's lockers are kind of kitty corner to each other, and Damian was just about ready to start as CJ was finishing up. So rather than spending all the rest of the time with CJ, which would have been not an awful idea on that night, I did pivot to go the other direction because I also wanted to write a story about how Dame and CJ are sharing the load late game, which I would have written last night, but the flight home was incredibly turbulent.
Bumpy.
And the wireless did not work for a large stretch of it. So finally, I just gave up.
All right, next up from Anthony Copeland. No E, so I'm going to say Copeland. What on earth do Lillard and CJ have to do to get on the NBA All-Star team? Well, Lillard has been on there twice, so he's been a 2-time All-Star. But if you're referring to this year in the here and now and when the reserves were selected, I believe the Blazers were 8 games under 500. So my first suggestion would be being 8 games over 500.
Yes.
And then you would have probably at least one of them on the All-Star team.
Yeah, winning more games would definitely help. Though there are theories about collusion among coaches in the NBA in terms of voting. I wouldn't probably make a whole lot of that, but the bottom line is like there are so many good players.
You got to win.
Yeah,
I mean, look,
you got to.
For years, this is my 10th season, 11th season, whatever it is, and every All-Star around All-Star voting time, when you talk to coaches about how they vote, they all say they factor winning into the equation because above all else, that is the goal to win. That's why you're playing. When a team is 8 games under 500. And underperforming and generally being a disappointment as compared to their preseason expectations, why would you then reward individuals who are having good seasons when the team is floundering?
Sure.
So I think that's how a lot of coaches approach it.
And I think a lot of Blazer fans would say, well, why is Anthony Davis
or DeMarcus Cousins
in there? And actually, that's my answer. The way that Damian and CJ can get into the All-Star game is by growing 6 inches and becoming centers rather than guards, because if you're a good center, you can play for a losing team and you'll still make an All-Star team. So
all right. Next up from Ryan Lyle, just why? Why is life the way it is? What is the meaning of life?
There isn't any, man. Keep it moving.
Yep.
That's all.
We're all just floating around on a giant orb in the universe.
I mean, maybe we are. This could all be something else.
Could be.
Who knows? This could be something else's dream.
They came out with something last week that said that the whole universe is moving. Like our universe is, I mean, obviously it's expanding, but it got pushed. Some type of gust or space, something or other, shifted the entire universe over.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting.
It's so that kind of theoretical astrophysics.
That's next level.
It's next. I mean, obviously you have to be incredibly intelligent to kind of play in that field and to even kind of wrap your mind around some of the notions of it. But on the other hand, too, it's also in a lot of ways kind of unverifiable, and like, so the way it works is they come up with theories and then they just kind of say, well, this is true until something else proves that it's not. Like there's a theory, and I think they made a documentary about it after they did the Higgs-Boson particle or whatever, about the notion of the multiverse and how this universe is one of many different dimensions. I'm sure I'm getting this wrong, but basically, long story short, like this very kind of, you can't call it outlandish, but kind of very bold, exactly, like notion of how not just the universe, but all of construct is put together. And again, there's no way to verify it. Like you can kind of look for indicators that might support your thesis, but it's impossible to tell.
Speaking of space, I guess the Hubble telescope captured a rare death of a star a couple days ago. They visually captured a star dying.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't
take that star.
Yeah.
Did it black hole or?
I didn't. I just saw the information. I didn't actually visit the story to to see. So I don't know.
Way to support local journal or science journalism, Joe. Jerk.
Sorry.
Come on, you gotta give everyone your money now.
Yeah, I actually meant to go look at it, and then I got distracted. You know how that goes, and then by the time I came back to whatever it was I was doing, I completely forgot about it because I'm old and absent-minded. Next up from Micah, unrelated to the Blazers, which Ball brother will have the best NBA career?
I can't even keep those kids in line. Yeah. I don't know which one's which.
Well, there's the one at UCLA who's going to be a top 3 pick in the draft, I believe. I don't know. And then there's the one.
I think that's that, and that's
his first name I'm spacing on. And then there's LaMelo, or just Melo, who's the kid who scored 92 points in high school last night.
The one at UCLA is Lorenzo, I think.
Oh, that sounds right. So that kid who did that was obviously, it was ridiculous. He was like 30 or 35 from the field or something. It was all twos. Like it wasn't even the typical new age kid dunking and shooting threes. But I did see some video of that today, and there was very little to no defense. Like he would score and then barely make it across half court before he was getting an outlet and going the other way. So bump that. But I don't know them well enough to know which one's going to have a better NBA career. Yeah. I don't pay.
Well, and the other thing too is like anything that happens as a sophomore in high school, there's.
Is that what he is? He's a sophomore.
I think he's a sophomore. Yeah. I mean, and there's just in general, there's been kids throughout the years who have been great, who people thought were going to be awesome, and then the next level just never panned out. And obviously to score 92, basically you have to do nothing but score. I did the last shot of that game too, like. You could tell the kid was just feeling it because, like, it was an ugly shot. Yeah, he just threw it up in the air and basically it went in. So, I mean, sometimes when you got it, you got it. I think it's impressive. I don't know this necessarily like a good thing because, that's not much of a basketball game.
No.
I guess it'd be fun to see it as like a singular thing. But, like, if the guy is going out and scoring 90 in the next game, I'd be like, stupid. Enough with this.
Next up from Tyler Stobe, how much of the Blazers' issues this year do we attribute to poor decision-making versus just plain bad luck?
Well, I mean, luck does play a part in it, but I think you have to. I mean, I don't know if I would say decision-making, just poor play.
Yeah. Again, my whole take on everything is that the Blazers were overrated going into the season. They overachieved last year over a 2 to 3 month span and inflated expectations. I still think they're sort of in the middle of a rebuild, really, when you look at going into last year, how many years did you think it was going to take before the team recovered to have a run like they had last year? So, I don't know. Decision-making, it depends on what level of decision-making you're talking about. Are you saying front office?
Yeah, I guess you're saying front office.
No, or is he? He could be talking about play and coaching and all that decision-making, like on-court decision-making.
Yeah.
The bad luck has been injuries. I mean, you saw it with Evan last night. You've seen it with Mo. You've seen it with Ed Davis. You've seen it with Aminu missed a stretch. So,
and obviously Festus Ezeli not playing.
So, that's where the bad luck comes into play. But play-wise, chemistry-wise, success-wise, that's more about the former than bad luck.
Yeah, and just being a really bad defensive team for the first 2 months of the season. I mean,
that'll do it.
That might be it.
Next up from Brandon Caro, does the Evan Turner injury increase the chances we trade for somebody?
No.
I've
been thinking this more and more lately. I don't think they're going to do anything. I think, and actually, I was talking to your colleague Mike Richmond about this yesterday. I think that summer is probably where they make their move. I could see them doing something if it falls in their lap, but I just don't. I don't know what move gets them anywhere important this year. And if they can swing one, great. But like I just don't see it. I think they're gonna maybe try to swing something during the draft. I think they're probably going to use their draft pick this year and hopefully get someone that they feel like can help. Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is I'm guessing if they take 2 first-round picks this year for themselves, I would be a bit surprised by that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't before Evan Turner's injury. I didn't think they were going to make a significant deal, if any at all, and I still don't think they're going to make any, if at all. Again, I still think they're in a rebuild. They're evaluating their talent, and their contracts are going to be less cumbersome from teams who are interested in some of their players in the summer when they are at least 1 year old, when they have 1 year shaved off of the deal. So that helps. The draft picks will help. I just think it makes more sense to wait into the summer. There's not going to be a move which is going to catapult the Blazers into the top half of the Western Conference standings that they're going to make. So when you're still just treading water as they are, you know what? It doesn't make a ton of sense. It depends on what drops into your lap.
Yeah, I mean, and every trade discussion comes with the caveat of if there's an opportunity, then great. But I mean, like, so you hear about kind of the stuff that's happened lately in terms of rumors. Sixers and Pelicans trying to work out a deal to send the Pelicans Jahlil Okafor. Is that really? I mean, like, is that something the Blazers should really get involved in? I mean, I think Okafor's a nice offensive player and he's young, but
not going to help their defense.
I don't know that it really solves Portland's problems. Let's see, what else are there any other deals that have been rumored out there?
I don't know. I try not to pay attention to
I
them.
know you don't, Joe, but I just thought maybe while reading something vision. About the astrophysics, you maybe saw something about trades. I don't know. But yeah, just basically, I mean, I just don't see it. And it could be out there. I've been wrong so many times.
Kevin Love?
God, that doesn't make any sense, too. Like, that's one of those things where it's like, I think LeBron has earned the right to kind of throw his weight around. In fact, I don't think that he has. But, like, that doesn't mean you should make dumb decisions. And like,
is that even coming from him, though? Like, where are those rumors really coming from?
Exactly. And anything with New York, too, like, you always got to take with a salt lick-sized
grain of salt. Your BS meter
salt.
should be raised high to threat level orange.
Well, what did LeBron call Frankie Zola? Did he say he was a clown or a joke or something like that? He made some statement about that, and yeah, I mean it. As an aside, man, Phil Jackson wilding out, man. That guy's certainly taking a different approach to general managing. Like, I mean, I guess I kind of respect it a little bit. He's like, look, I want to get rid of Carmelo Anthony. I can't because he has a no trade clause. So I'm just going to put his name on the street any chance I get. It's just cold, man.
There was
cold world.
Somebody that asked me if I had seen his tweet, and I was like, no. And so I'm trying to find.
Well, he tweeted about a story that Kevin Ding wrote yesterday about trying to get Carmelo Anthony to kind of conform to a style of winning basketball, and how throughout his career that has not really been the case. And basically, Phil Jackson
I have it right
responded.
here.
Basically, was like, yeah, he's right.
Bleacher's Ding almost rings the bell, but I learned you don't change the spot on a leopard with Michael Graham in my CBA days. What?
So, I mean, I think he's basically saying that, I mean, because again, Ding's thing was like, hey, I mean, like, Carmelo is who he is. You can even question his desire to win over just having a more comfortable life, which I think he points out, and I agree with. It's like, look, like, who's to say, like, what should a player value the most? I mean, I think obviously as fans, you hope that they value winning the most.
And representing the organization in a fine manner.
But in some regards, you are an employee, and like if maybe it's more important to a player to have a comfortable lifestyle in the place they're comfortable with and have their family that their family wants to live than it is for them to have a better chance to win a championship in, say, San Antonio. You know, like, and I think as a fan, you don't want to hear that, and I think that's a perfectly fair response to have, particularly with how players are compensated. But on the other hand, it's like, look, you gotta make your decisions based off of what's important to you. And again, if you're a professional basketball player, you probably have a lot of interest in winning basketball games and eventually a championship. But as you get older, maybe it becomes less and less. Maybe your priorities change.
So, well, after we, or late in the game of submitting questions via Twitter, Dorian Gibson has asked between 7 and 8 questions. So, Dorian, we're not going to get to all your questions, but I have a couple here that we could probably tackle rapid fire here. What are your favorite Blazer jerseys? If you could change to a new look, what would you do? I've always kind of liked the Bill Walton Blazers down the side with the number on the front.
With the red.
Yeah.
No, I like that jersey.
And the Hardwood Classics that very similar to those that they resurrected when Brandon Roy was around. I think
those aren't the same.
They're essentially the same. Yeah, but the modernized look of that, I like that. Yeah. I kind of like the old one too with Portland spelled out in cursive. Yeah, I think nice. that's a nice jersey too. But I mean, I think generally speaking, the unis are pretty nice.
Yeah, they're not outlandish or anything. They're fairly traditional. But I think Blazers, I'd say top 5 uniform. I've always thought they've done a nice job.
There is a modernizing going on right now as we speak. Yep. So there will be some changes heading into next year.
Well, with Nike taking over the contract, there might be some opportunities there.
Okay, what do the players tend to live closer to the arena or the practice facility? For the most part, the practice facility. Although some
there's been a trend lately to living in the city as a team has gone younger. Yeah, I think
even going back to like Joel Freeland and Victor and those guys, they lived in the city proper. Yeah.
Well, especially European guys. It's like they don't want to live in some suburb. They want to live in the city.
And then finally from Dorian Gibson, what is the best food served at the Modus Center? Lots of fine dining options at the Modus Center.
Yeah.
Depends on if you're looking for like a Portland-centric kind of a food or if you're looking for your game day staples like your chicken strips and fries or your hot dog or whatever. Assuming that you're going for a slight change of pace, I'm partial to Sizzle Pie Pizza. Sure. It's very good in the concourse. And
I would like to eat Killer Burger, but they insist on putting mayonnaise on their hamburgers, so I can't give them the mantle because I think Killer Burgers are great.
They're excellent.
I think I don't know if they're underrated, but like when people talk about like really good burgers in Portland, I don't feel like they get enough due. Yeah. When I eat a Killer Burger, like I don't feel awful afterwards, which is very unusual. But at the Modus Center, they won't make them without mayo.
That's a crying shame.
Come on, guys.
And also Bunk. Bunk's
great.
In the arena, and that's a good sandwich place. So off the top of my head, that's what I would say. Koi Fusion's not in the arena, is it? I don't think so. I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. I have to say I'm gonna just shout out the old school chicken strips and fries. Like the Trailblazer standard chicken strip and fry, not even like the foul language one. A very solid chicken strip and fry combo, and especially with an employee discount, you get for like $6.
Too sweet.
That's a great meal. And we were talking about the other day. Blazers easily commissary wise, best salad bar in the NBA.
Media meal wise,
yes. And we were even having a discussion the other day about, as we often do, about arena foods, and Blazers definitely top 5.
Yeah. Okay.
Which, by the way, too, if you're in Dallas. Streets fine chicken, fried chicken in I guess the Oaklawn neighborhood. It was fantastic. An interesting scene there as well, just because it's the heart of, or I don't know if it's the heart, but definitely a district, and you don't often see a fried chicken place next to clubs and men's underwear stores and.
I had no idea where you're going with this, but okay, I see.
It was great though. And like pictures on the wall of roosters all over the place, like a little on the nose, but fantastic chicken and very good sides too.
There you go.
And we went to Pecan Lodge as well. A little underwhelming.
Oh yeah,
yeah. The second time ordering burnt ends on the road lately, where they give you something that is really not burnt ends.
Yeah, they're sort of faking it.
Yeah, and this one was a full on like. Dog, these aren't burnt ends. This is just the end of a huge piece of brisket.
That's why you go to Matt's Barbecue on MLK in Portland.
Does Matt do burnt ends?
I think so.
He's hit and miss with burnt ends. I feel like every time I've tried to get him, he hasn't had them. So. But no, Matt's is awesome. It's great stuff.
All right, we're going to call it good there. Thank you so much for listening. As always, he's Casey Holdahl. I'm Joe Freeman, and we will talk to you again next week. Take care. Take us. No kidding, it's the Blazers and we're blasting the Lakers. Force the tempo, 50-point lead by halftime.
Watch Rasheed Wallace keep smashing the baseline. Go left, go right, 360 degrees. Here comes a paint, Kobe. Tipping and he's popping a three. Try and catch him coming down the court. Bonzi Wells, what a handle. It's amazing what he do for the sport. Damon Stoudemire saves the day, a.k.a. Mighty Mouse. Gonna show all of you scrubs how to play. What a show. Why the Lakers even want it with us, you know.
No one's ready to deal with us.